Well, here we are. This is the fourth session on this mower project. I've been searching for some parts and I found out today actually how old this machine is. 1997. So it's an old one. It's been incredible, really. Right, I'm on 4 sessions into repairing this machine. A session is about between 1 and 2 hours. I can't work more than 2 hours. My back starts aching, my legs start aching, I can't have to sit down. So I think it's 4 sessions. I plated the bottom here the other day. I showed you a video of that, where it was all welded up. Well, that's finished now. I've sharpened the edges of the blade. I don't want to take too much off. Don't want to sharpen it too much because it get out of balance. So I've just put an edge back on there. This bolt's unbelievably tight. I had to actually put this, I had to hold the blade in the vise to get that off. It took me a while. That's the lug that I made. These are the lugs that hold the pivot on. It's like a pivot arm, like a sliding pivot arm. I made that one. That's the original one. I did say that would be no problem. It took me a long time. It took me as long to do that as well to do anything else. That's one of the lugs there, and that's the one I made. Now, because this is now double skinned, I've had to spacer it off. I've had to put some spacers underneath and just ease it off a little bit. Because what was happening was it was tight, it was binding up, but that's quite happy with that actually. It's working well. The other thing I've had to do is these edges, these bolts here, they were worn. They fit in 2 sliders underneath the mower, and it's like a fork that goes in there, and it had worn that halfway through, and same on this one as well. It had worn that one halfway through, so I've just welded them up and ground them off. That'll be okay now. The bearing's fine. I was going to put some new bearings in, but I don't see the point really. I mean, these have been in the best part of 30 years and there's nothing up with them. There's nothing up with them bearings. So I'm going to leave the bearings for the time being. So that's all in position. I'll just put some paint on just to pretty it up a little bit. I mean, it's not a car, so I'm not really that bothered. So that's just about done. I've got the belt off. This is the where am I here? This is the belt for the decking. So I'm going to order a new belt. Can't see the number on it, but when you're measuring one of these belts, the best thing to do is to put it in the vise, give it a pull like that, measure the length of it on the outside, and then double it, and that'll give you the length of the belt. If you don't know what the part number is, and to see whether it's any good or not, is turn it inside out. Let me just put the camera back on its stand. Okay, I think we'll be able to see that. This is the belt, and if you want to see whether the belt's worn or not, the best thing to do is to turn it inside out. And look for cracks like that. You see them a lot better if you turn the belt inside out. It's just in that one spot as it's gone. There's big nasty gashes there. So why it's off, it's false economy not to replace it. So that's that. I've always I've had this mower for a long time, as I said before, and I've always wondered why it doesn't charge the battery up. Doesn't appear to be an alternator on it. There's no way of charging the battery up. And I've just been doing some investigation, and it seems to be, oops, zoom into that. It seems to be that this wire here, that, which has never been connected to anything, I've always wondered what it was, is actually an alternator wire, a single wire from the alternator. So that should go, I think it's got a built-in diode. So if it has a built-in diode, that'll be DC. If it's not got a built-in diode, it'll be AC, and it'll have to go through a rectifier to charge the battery. So my next job, I think, is going to be start it up and see if that's AC or DC, and see if there's any voltage coming out of it. Then I'll be able to wire it up then and charge the battery up. I think it's got a diode built into it. I've made somewhere that some of them do and some of them don't. Another thing is, I said when this engine is rattly, it sounds rattly. But I think about it, and I think what it might be, it may be the inlet valve clearance. When I first got it, it was bad starting. I've had it for about a year, and after winter it wouldn't start. So I tested I tried the compression, did the plug out, stuck my finger over the hole, there was no compression. So I thought, yeah, that's why it'll not start, there's no compression. Probably the valve stuck open. So I took the head off, and I find out the valve's not seating properly. There's no clearance in the inlet valve. So I took the valve out, and this is a side valve engine, and the old side valve engines, what you do to adjust the valve to this is take some off the end of the valve, actually grind a bit off. So that's what I did, and put it back. And when I put it back, it had too much compression. The starter motor couldn't turn the engine over. So that was strange. Anyway, it appears that it's got in a decompressor, a built-in cam decompressor, that the inlet valve doesn't shut unless the engine's spinning over. They do that, I think, because the starter motor, which is that yoke there, this bit there, starter motor is what they call, it's a permanent magnet motor. Normally, starter motors have a compound wound motor to give you a higher torque when starting, but they're more expensive, and I think for the cost part of it, Briggs & Stratton have fitted a permanent magnet motor, and it's not man enough to spin the engine over on compression. So what they do, they lower the compression, get the engine spinning, so when the engine starts, the decompressor shuts itself off. It's quite clear. I've never seen one before. I've never seen one before I see this one, and that's why I took a bit off the valve. Now I think what's happened is when I realised what I'd done, I shouldn't have ground a bit off the end of the valve. I spot welded it back up again and put it back in, and it ran okay, it ran fine. And I think what might have happened is because I've took the case hardening off the valve, I think it may have kind of battered that spot weld, and now we've got too much of a valve clearance, and that's what I'm hearing. So I'll take the head off, I'll whip that inlet valve out, and I'll probably put a new inlet valve in anyway. I've made some inquiries. There is one on eBay, and I'm just checking whether it'll fit. If it'll fit, I'll buy it and fit in that inlet valve. So I've got the inlet valve to fit. I've got it to see if that if this supply here, if there is a supply, is it AC, is it DC, and what is the voltage, and then I can wire it up and get this battery charging. What I used to do was charge this big battery. I had this big battery on, it was off a transit van. There was a battery on that went knackered, and I had this as a spare battery. It was off a transit that we had that we scrapped, and I stuck that on there. So I only had to charge it up twice a year, and it would start it probably 30-40 times before it went flat. But if I can get it charging, it will be better. So there we are, the deck's I think finished, near enough, it'll do for me. It's just short of 30 years old. If I can get this running, and if it'll last another 30 years, I'll be fine. Okay, bye. Okay, I've connected up the multimeter to the output wire that's coming from under the alternator, and then the black wire goes to the battery negative. I'm set on DC volts with a 20 scale. So that was reading 13 volts. That's ideal for so that's 13 volts DC. You can just connect that wire straight to the battery and it'll charge the battery up. It looks as though it has got, well, it has got, definitely, it's got a diode in the wire, because if it hadn't got a diode it wouldn't be registering DC. Let's just zoom that out a little bit. If you look at the wire here, you see this black, that black connection there, looks like it's shrink wrapped. I'm 99% sure that's the diode, that was the diode there. So it's a 13 volt AC supply, and then it's got a diode in that's rectifying it to DC, so it's coming out as DC. All I need to do is connect that wire up to the battery and it will charge the battery up. Okay? Okay, I've got the inlet valve out. Might just be able to see where I welded the end up when I took too much off, as I said before. When this valve was at rest with the piston at the top, there was a clearance. There was a 10 thou clearance, and this valve should be open. So it doesn't look like it's damaged at the end. I can't see, but I think it must be, because that valve should never, there should never be a gap there, clearance there when the engine's at rest, because it needs to open to drop the compression. So I've ordered a new one, and we'll see what happens.